Welcome back to Sleepers Podcast. Tonight we're talking about a feeling that can be hard to admit out loud. Missing someone who was not good for us. Someone who hurt us, confused us, drained us, or made us feel smaller than we really are. And still, somehow, part of us remembers them softly. Part of us reaches back. So tonight, I'm joined by Caroline, and we're going to talk about that feeling gently, honestly, and without judging it too much. Caroline, welcome.
Thank you, Mike. I'm really happy to be here. This is one of those topics that feels quiet on the outside, but it can take up so much space inside a person.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm okay. A little tired, but in a peaceful way. Like my brain finally turned the volume down.
That sounds kind of perfect for this conversation.
I think so. How are you?
I'm good. Calm. This feels like the kind of thing people think about late at night, even if they don't always say it.
Definitely. This is very much a staring at the ceiling kind of topic.
It is. So maybe we can start with the simple, strange truth of it. Sometimes we miss people, even when we know they were bad for us.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that makes people feel ashamed. Because logically, it sounds like it should be simple. If someone hurt you, or drained you, or made your life more confusing, then you should just stop missing them.
Right. Like the heart should receive the information and adjust immediately.
Exactly. But it doesn't. Emotions don't move in a straight line just because the facts are clear.
No, they really don't. And I think one of the first things to separate is this idea that missing someone means wanting them back.
That's such an important distinction.
Because you can miss someone and still know very clearly that they should not be in your life anymore.
Yes. Missing them can just mean there was attachment there. There was history. There were habits. There were little places in your day where they used to be.
And when they're gone, those places don't immediately fill themselves in.
They don't. Even if the space is healthier without them, it's still a space. And space can ache for a while.
I think people forget that grief can exist even when leaving was the right choice.
It absolutely can. Sometimes leaving is right and still hurts. Sometimes healing feels terrible at first. Not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar.
That's very true.
I think we expect the right decision to feel peaceful right away. Like once you finally walk away, your whole body should relax and everything should become clear.
And sometimes there is relief.
There is. But then sometimes, after the relief, there's loneliness. Or confusion. Or this weird empty feeling around the times of day when you used to talk to them.
You miss the ritual.
Exactly. The routine. The good morning message. The familiar voice. The little updates. Even if half of those things came with anxiety, they were still part of the rhythm of your life.
That can be hard to explain to someone watching from the outside.
So hard. Because they'll say, but they made you miserable. And you're like, I know. And that's the strange part. They made you miserable. And you still miss them. Both things can be true.
There's something very human in that contradiction.
There is. I don't think it means we're weak. I think it means we bonded with someone. And bonds don't just disappear because we finally understand that something was unhealthy. Understanding is one thing. Detaching is another.
Yes. And detaching can be slow. Sometimes slower than you want it to be.
sometimes embarrassingly slow.
I'm glad you used that word, because I think a lot of people feel embarrassed by it. Like, why am I still thinking about this? Why do I still care? Why do I remember the soft parts?
The soft parts are the hardest
In what way?
because they don't come back like a warning. They come back gently. A laugh in the kitchen, one kind sentence, a quiet drive, the way they looked at you once when you felt like they really saw you.
And those moments may have been real.
They were real. That's what makes it complicated. I think sometimes people try to heal by saying none of it mattered. None of it was real. But usually some of it was real. The warmth was real. The connection was real in pieces. The tenderness existed.
But the harm was real too.
Exactly. And I think healing asks us to hold both. Not to erase the good, but also not to let the good excuse the damage.
That's a grounded way of putting it.
It took me a long time to understand that. Because for a while, I thought I had to choose one story. Either they were terrible, or I was wrong for leaving. But it's not that simple.
No. Sometimes the truth is more layered than that.
Yeah. Sometimes someone gave you beautiful moments and still could not give you a safe relationship.
Do you think we sometimes miss the person, or do we miss who we hoped they would become?
Oh, I think that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not really grieving the actual person in front of you. You're grieving the version of them that almost existed. The version you saw flashes of. The version that appeared just often enough to keep you hoping.
Just often enough.
That's the painful part. If someone was cruel every second, maybe it would be clearer. Still painful, but clearer.
Mm-hmm.
But when someone is warm one day and cold the next, present one week and distant the next, gentle and then careless, you start chasing the gentle version.
Because you've seen it.
Right. You know it exists somewhere. Or at least you believe it does. So you start thinking, maybe if I love them better. Maybe if I explain it differently. Maybe if I'm more patient. Maybe they'll become that version all the time.
And that hope can keep someone emotionally tied for a long time.
A very long time. Because you're not only attached to what happened, you're attached to what almost happened.
That's a quiet kind of grief.
It is. Grieving the almost apology, the almost change, the almost safe relationship.
And maybe the almost future.
Yes. The future you pictured. Even if real life kept disappointing you, the imagined version can be so hard to let go of.
I think that imagined future can feel like a place you visited, even if you never really got there.
That's exactly it. It feels familiar because you went there so many times in your mind. You pictured the calm version, the repaired version, the version where they finally understood you.
And when it ends, you're not only losing the person, you're losing that whole imagined life. Yes, and people don't always understand that. They think you're missing the chaos, but you're not. You're missing the hope.
The hope can be the hardest thing to put down.
It really can. Especially if you're someone who tries to see the good in people.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a beautiful quality, but it can also make you stay longer than you should. Because you keep thinking, I know they can be better. And maybe they can. But that doesn't mean they will. And it doesn't mean you have to keep getting hurt while you wait.
Seeing someone's potential does not make it your responsibility to live inside their unfinished work.
Yeah.
And that is a hard thing to accept when you love someone.
It is.
Because love makes you generous. Sometimes too generous. You start giving pieces of your peace to someone who doesn't really know how to care for them.
That's beautifully said.
I've had to learn that missing someone doesn't always mean I chose wrong by leaving. Sometimes it just means I'm still catching up with my own decision.
The heart catching up.
Yeah. The mind may understand first. The body takes longer.
You might still reach for your phone.
Mm-hmm. Or think of telling them something. Or hear a song and, for 3 minutes, forget the bad parts. You just remember driving somewhere together, or laughing at something small, or feeling chosen for a little while.
And loneliness can make those memories stronger.
Loneliness has a way of editing.
That's very true.
It cuts out the waiting, the confusion, the stomach drop feeling when they went quiet, the way you questioned yourself, the way you kept lowering your needs until asking for basic kindness felt like asking for too much.
Loneliness softens the edges of what hurt us.
Especially at night.
At night, everything can feel a little more convincing.
Definitely. At night, your mind says, was it really that bad? And suddenly you're remembering one sweet message, not the 10 times they made you feel invisible.
That's why I think it helps to be gentle, but honest with memory.
Yes. Not harsh. Not forcing yourself to hate them. Just honest enough to remember the full picture.
The full picture matters.
It does. Because sometimes we miss a highlight reel.
The edited version.
Exactly. The little collection of beautiful scenes. But real life with them was not only those scenes.
It was the whole movie.
And the whole movie may have been exhausting.
Yeah.
I think that's why people sometimes go back. Not because they forgot everything, but because the ache gets loud and the memory gets selective.
And the familiar can feel safer than the unknown, even when the familiar was painful.
That is so true. After someone leaves or after you leave them, there's this empty stretch where you have to rebuild your day. And that can feel so uncomfortable that even the old anxiety starts looking like companionship.
Sometimes we miss having someone to orbit around.
Yes, even if orbiting them made us dizzy.
You get used to checking the emotional weather in another person.
Exactly. You wake up and wonder, what version of them am I getting today? And it's not healthy, but it becomes normal. So when it stops, the quiet can feel strange.
Peace can feel boring at first.
Or suspicious.
Suspicious, yeah.
Like, why is nothing happening? Why am I not waiting for a reply? Why am I not trying to fix something? And then you realize how much of your energy was going into surviving the connection.
And when that energy has nowhere to go, it can feel like missing.
Yes. Sometimes missing someone is partly withdrawal from intensity.
Not necessarily love.
Not always. Sometimes it's habit. Sometimes it's your mind still expecting the old pattern. The closeness, the distance, the relief, the disappointment.
The cycle itself becomes familiar.
It does. And when the cycle ends, even if it was hurting you, there's this strange emptiness. Like your life got quieter, but you haven't learned how to trust the quiet yet.
Learning to trust the quiet.
That takes time. Because quiet can feel abandonment when you're used to chaos.
And eventually, hopefully, it starts to feel like rest.
Slowly. Very slowly.
That seems to be the theme with this kind of healing. Slow, not dramatic, not one big turning point.
Yeah, I think movies make healing look like one brave moment. You throw away the old photos, delete the number, stand in the rain, and suddenly you're free.
Real life is usually less cinematic.
Much less. Real life is making coffee and not texting them, then doing laundry and not texting them, then having one bad night and wanting to text them and still not doing it.
That's the actual work.
It is. Tiny, ordinary moments where you choose not to reopen the door.
Even when part of you wants to.
Especially then.
Do you think closure is part of why people miss someone who hurt them?
Yes. I think unfinished things have a pull. When something ends without the conversation you wanted, or without the apology, or without them finally understanding what they did, your mind keeps circling it.
Trying to complete the shape.
Exactly. You keep imagining the conversation where they say the right thing, where they finally get it, where they say, "I'm sorry, I should have treated you better." And maybe part of you thinks you need that to move on.
But often, that conversation never comes.
Or it comes, and it still doesn't feel the way you hoped.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the person who hurt you is not capable of giving you the kind of closure you deserve.
That's painful, but true.
And then closure has to become something quieter. Not a perfect final conversation. Not a neat explanation. Just acceptance. Like, this happened. It hurt. I may never fully understand it. But I don't have to keep standing at the door of it.
That's very gentle.
I think closure is sometimes choosing to stop asking someone to become clear.
Because some people only offer confusion.
Yes. And if you keep going back to them for clarity, you leave with more confusion.
That can be one of the hardest loops to break.
It is. Because you think, maybe if I ask one more time, maybe if I explain myself better. But the right person doesn't need you to build a whole case for your feelings.
No. They can hear you.
They may not be perfect, but they care that you're hurting.
And when someone repeatedly makes you feel like your pain is an inconvenience, that leaves a mark.
It does. And strangely, sometimes we miss them because we want them to repair the mark they left.
That's a deep one.
It's like the person who made you feel unchosen becomes the person you want to be chosen by. Because if they finally choose you, maybe it proves you were enough all along.
But your enoughness can't safely depend on the person who made you doubt it.
No, it can't.
But it takes a while to believe that.
It does. Especially when someone had a strong emotional hold on you.
People can have a hold on you even if they weren't good to you.
Absolutely.
I think that's another thing we misunderstand. We treat attachment like evidence. Like, if I miss them this much, maybe they must have been right for me in some way.
But attachment can form around inconsistency too.
It can. Around longing, around trying, around wanting to finally feel secure.
And intensity can be mistaken for depth.
Yes. Sometimes what felt like passion was uncertainty. Sometimes what felt like chemistry was the relief of being treated kindly after being ignored.
That kind of relief can feel enormous.
It can feel like love. But healthy love usually doesn't require you to be deprived first.
That's a quiet truth.
Healthy love can still be exciting. It can still be tender and alive. But it doesn't keep you starving for small pieces.
And when you've been living on small pieces, even crumbs can feel meaningful.
Exactly. So after it ends, you miss the crumbs. Not because crumbs were enough, but because you trained yourself to feel grateful for them.
That's heartbreaking in a soft way.
It is. And I think this is where self-forgiveness matters so much. Because after leaving, people often look back and feel ashamed. Like, why did I accept so little? Why did I keep hoping? Why did I keep explaining?
And that becomes another layer of pain.
Yes. You're already grieving the person, and then you start judging the version of yourself who stayed.
When really, that version of you was trying.
That's all. Trying to love, trying to understand, trying to make something work. Maybe trying to evade another loss. Maybe trying to believe the best.
There's nothing shameful about wanting love to become safe.
No, there isn't. It's just that sometimes it doesn't become safe. And when it doesn't, you're allowed to stop waiting.
So forgiving ourselves becomes part of moving on?
A huge part. Maybe one of the biggest parts.
What does that look like in a quiet, everyday sense?
I think it looks like not talking to yourself cruelly when you miss them. Not saying, I'm so stupid. Why do I care? But maybe saying, of course I care. I was attached. This mattered. And I'm still allowed to protect myself.
That feels much kinder.
It is. And it works better than shame. Shame just makes you want comfort. And sometimes the comfort you want is the person you're trying not to return to.
That's a really important point.
So you have to become a safer place for yourself. Not perfectly, just a little safer than before.
Maybe that's why this subject is so tender. Because missing someone who was bad for us can feel like a betrayal of our own healing.
Yes, but it isn't.
No.
Missing them is not failure. It's not proof that you should go back. It's not proof that they were secretly right for you. It just means your heart is still releasing something.
Slowly.
Slowly. And in layers. One day you stop missing the daily conversations. Later, you stop missing the imagined future. Later, you stop needing them to understand. And then one day, you think of them and it doesn't pull you under.
It just passes through.
Like weather.
That's a hopeful image, without making it too neat.
Healing is not neat.
No.
And sometimes you'll have a week where you feel completely fine. And then one tiny thing brings it back. A certain street, a certain smell, a phrase they used to say. And suddenly you feel like you've gone backward.
But that doesn't mean you have.
No. It just means memory still has places it likes to visit.
That's a good way to hold it.
And those moments usually pass if you don't build a whole story around them.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, sometimes you miss someone for a few minutes, and your mind immediately tries to turn it into a message. Like, maybe this means I made a mistake. Maybe I should check on them. Maybe they've changed. Maybe this is a sign.
Yes.
But sometimes a feeling is just a feeling. It doesn't have to become a plan.
That's very grounded.
I had to learn that slowly. Because when you miss someone, your mind wants action. It wants to close the distance. But sometimes the kindest action is stillness.
Letting the wave move through without obeying it.
Yes, just letting it move through.
There's something reassuring about that. You don't have to solve the feeling the moment it appears.
You really don't. You can miss someone while making dinner. You can miss them while folding a shirt. You can miss them for 10 minutes and then still go on with your night.
And over time, the missing may become less sharp.
It does. Not because you forced it out, but because your life gets bigger around it.
New routines.
New routines, new people, new quiet, new versions of yourself that they don't have access to.
That last one feels important.
It is. There's a private kind of healing in becoming someone they don't know anymore.
Not out of bitterness.
No, just naturally. You grow. You sleep better. You stop bracing so much. You laugh in a way that doesn't need their permission.
And eventually, the person you were with them becomes only one chapter.
Yes. Not your whole identity. Not your whole story.
Do you think it's possible to remember someone tenderly and still keep the door closed?
I do. I think that might be one of the clearest signs of healing.
How so?
Because at first, you might need anger to stay away. And that's okay. Anger can be protective. But later, maybe you don't need to hate them. Maybe you can say, there were beautiful moments, and it still wasn't good for me.
That's a peaceful kind of honesty.
Yeah. It doesn't excuse anything. It just frees you from having to keep proving how bad it was.
Because you know.
You know. And eventually that becomes enough.
I think a lot of people are waiting for their feelings to line up perfectly. Like they'll only be free once they never miss the person again. But freedom can come before that.
Yes. Freedom can be missing them and still choosing yourself. Missing them and not reaching out. Missing them and remembering why the distance matters.
That might be the heart of the whole conversation.
I think so. Missing someone is not proof that they belonged in your life. Sometimes it's just proof that they affected you,
That something mattered.
that something mattered, that you cared, that you hoped, that you were human inside it.
And being human inside something painful is not something to be ashamed of.
Not at all.
I wonder if part of healing is learning to trust our present self more than our lonely memory.
I love that, because lonely memory can be very persuasive.
It can.
It makes the past look warmer than it was, but your present self knows the cost. Your present self remembers how hard it was to keep shrinking, waiting, guessing.
And your present self deserves some loyalty.
Yes, loyalty to the self that finally walked away, or the self that was left and had to rebuild anyway.
Because sometimes people don't choose the ending, but they still have to choose the healing.
Absolutely. And that can be so complicated. When someone who wasn't good for you leaves, there can be this strange mixture of rejection and relief.
That's very human.
It is. Part of you knows maybe this is for the best, but another part is asking, why wasn't I worth treating better? Why wasn't I enough for them to stay kindly?
Those questions hurt.
They do. But eventually, I think you start to understand that someone's inability to love you well is not the final measure of your worth.
No.
It feels personal because you lived it personally, but it may have had more to do with their limits than your value.
That's an important difference.
It doesn't make the pain disappear, but it helps you stop handing them the authority to define you.
That's where the quiet strength comes in.
Not loud strength, not I'm completely over it and nothing hurts. Just the quieter strength of saying, I still feel this, but I'm not going to abandon myself over it.
That's beautiful, Caroline.
Thank you.
I think one thing we haven't touched on yet is how missing someone can sometimes mean missing who we were in that season.
Yes, that's so true.
Maybe they came into your life during a certain time maybe you felt more alive then, or more open, or younger, or more hopeful.
Exactly.
That happens a lot. You attach the feeling to the person, but there were other things around them too. A city, a season, a version of you that still believed everything could become beautiful if you tried hard enough.
And losing the person brings up the loss of that whole season.
Yes. But I think part of moving on is realizing that the best parts of you did not belong to them.
Mm-hmm.
Your tenderness didn't come from them. Your hope didn't come from them. Your ability to love deeply didn't come from them. They may have witnessed those parts of you or received them, but they didn't create them.
So you get to carry those parts forward.
You do. That's the comforting thing. You don't have to leave your softness behind with someone who didn't handle it well.
That feels like a gentle place to land.
It does.
And maybe for someone listening tonight who misses a person they know they shouldn't return to, the message is not stop feeling that immediately.
No, that would be impossible.
Maybe it's more like let the feeling be there, but don't let it rewrite the truth.
Yes, let it be there. Let it ache a little. Let it pass. And remember that you can care about someone and still choose distance. You can remember the good and still not reopen the wound.
Missing them doesn't mean the door has to open.
It doesn't.
And it doesn't mean your healing has failed.
No. Sometimes healing sounds like silence, like not sending the message, like going to bed with a heavy heart and waking up a tiny bit lighter.
That's very real.
It is. Not dramatic, not perfect, just a tiny bit lighter.
Caroline, thank you for this conversation. It felt very honest and very gentle.
Thank you, Mike. I'm really glad we talked about it.
Me too. And to everyone listening, if you've ever missed someone who was not good for you, I hope you can be kind to yourself tonight. Missing them does not mean they belonged in your life. It does not erase what hurt. It simply means something mattered, and your heart is still learning how to let it rest. Thank you for spending this quiet time with us. Take care of yourself, and we'll meet you again in the next episode.